Miami's kind of a crazy place to grow up, so I'll just leave it at that. A word that comes to mind would be visionary, from my grandfathers on both sides, on my father's side and on my mother's side. Shakira, when she started out, Enrique Iglesias, Ricky Martin, talking about back then. All of the modern day or past superstars, I would say.
You're hanging out with the crew of Dimelo 305, and we're coming to you from a very special place in Miami with a very special person, Andrés Alarcón.
What's good,
Thanks
my
so
boy?
much, man. Making time for us.
Of course.
We can't talk about Latin music in the United States, the cultural impact of it, without speaking about your family.
I appreciate that.
The Alarcón family. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your Miami story. Where did you grow up? What was it like being Andrés at a young age?
Some people might not know that I was born in New York, but I came down to Miami when I was like 5 years old. So I pretty much from Miami, I've been, went to high school, everything, all school here.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Columbus.
Columbus, okay.
Yeah, adelante. Shout out to all the Columbus people out there watching that. And I mean, it was normal childhood, I would say, everything good. I mean, I feel like Miami's kind of a crazy place to grow up, so I'll just leave it at that.
So you're making your way through school. You're a kid. Did you ever know about your last name or the impact that it had or the weight that it held, or were you just kind of living life?
I would say both. I think when you're a child, there's things that. So I thought that certain things were just normal, and then as you get older, you kind of do start to realize. So yeah, I think at a certain point, I kind of realized everything that was going on, and kind of how everything was.
Well, what were some of the things that you would do as a kid, as a middle child?
My older siblings are two females, right? So I have two older sisters, so it was the middle, but it was the boy, so at one point it was the only boy, so I think that does have like a lot to do with a lot of things, we could put it that way. And then when I got older, like as a teenager and stuff like that, I was definitely living the life, we could say.
If you could describe in a few words, what do you think your family has done to kind of revolutionize Latin music the way we know it here in the United States?
First off, a word that comes to mind would be visionary, from my grandfathers on both sides, on my father's side and on my mother's side. So that would be one word that I would use to describe it. Aside from that word, I could also say very like supportive, like a lot of apoyo, for all artists across all the years. So we've always been uplifting, our community through, the support of the artists, and the culture and the music.
Who are some of those kind of figures that you can look back and be like, wow, we really played a big role in developing them as an artist?
Because I don't want to take all the credit, obviously there's artists that you have to give them their respect, or give them their props, to say it like that as well. But as far as, helping out career-wise, I would say, yeah, I mean, in the Latin music world, I would say all of them, I mean, you could go back like Shakira, when she started out, Enrique Iglesias, Ricky Martin, talking about back then. Celia Cruz was good friends with my grandfather, so we could mention her in there as well. And then now newer generations, like the Bad Bunnies, pretty much all of the modern day or past superstars, I would say.
I think on a personal, professional level, it must be pretty awesome just to be able to be part of that story.
It's a blessing, really, and you gotta be grateful, for the opportunities and for the people that you meet along the way. Personally, I lean more towards, like what you were saying, like the Cuban demographic. Obviously my father's Cuban, my grandfather, that whole side of the family is Cuban. And like I already said, I was born here, so not necessarily a Cuban American as by definition of what people would say, right? But I would say that even though I was born out here, I do connect a lot, with my Cuban roots.
Now, this business is massive. Where do you fall into the part of the business?
My role, well, I'm the one that helps organize and throw certain shows. So it'll be like on the entertainment side of the company. So with Cubatonazo, we put that one together. And then we have another one that I do personally as well, which would be like 100%, you know, organizing the whole event. It would be Cubatonazo. Shout out to DJ Yus as well, you know, he helps out there as well. It's all teamwork. And also Dia Nacional de la Salsa in Puerto Rico. It's at the Estadio Hiram Bithorn. It's another one that I do. And then aside from concerts and everything like that, I do get involved like on, I guess you could say, artist relations side, you know? We're not a record label, so there's not really like a A&R position, you know, within the company, but I like to maintain good relationships with all the artists, you know, to be able to continue to work together into the future. I think the relationships are everything in this business.
Can you tell me a little bit from like a business perspective? What is it like to meet an artist or an upcoming artist or already an artist who's doing their thing, and then trying to foster that relationship? Because you know you might want them to perform with you later in the future, or you might need something in the future. Talk to me a little bit about what that is like.
I would say it with a phrase, which is una mano lava la otra y la dos lavan la cara, right? So, like I said, relationships are everything. Meeting an artist, I mean, I think being in this business for however long, you know, or being surrounded by the business for pretty much my whole life, it gives you a different perspective on artists, you know. Of course, there's still artists that you'll see or whatever, and I don't know, you know, you're like, oh man, this is this person, you know what I mean? But I try to approach artists as just like another human, pretty much, you know, not to like lower their status or anything like that, you know, just to make it more personal and more human, you know, like, and approach them as just another human, you know, regular person, instead of like as an artist, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What are some life lessons that he's taught you?
Well, I'll say the most important one, which I would, you know, give this advice to everybody out there that's watching as well, which is really never give up. That's what he's always said since I was a kid, you know, and he continues to repeat it to this day. You just got to keep going, no matter what happens, you know. People might think, I don't know, whatever that they might think, you know, or things might not look good, or whatever the case may be, you know, you just got to keep moving forward. You can never give up.
And then lastly, where do you see your career taking you? Where do you want to take this company to? What would be like that next level to be like, you know what, I was able to take this company and take it to this level? What would that be for you?
I would say just maintaining the legacy, you know, of what everybody before me has done, you know, and respecting and appreciating everything that they've done, and continuing to keep that work, you know, into the future. So, you know, appreciating and respecting everything that my grandfathers did, everything that my father has done up until this point, and then, you know, taking that and taking it to the next level into the future.
Well, we can't wait to see what you do.
Appreciate it, dog.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for everything.
Absolutely.
Yo.